Hi guys, welcome to a new episode of In Other Words with Danielle and Zara.
So this is a podcast where we talk about a wide variety of different subjects, from advice to well-being. So in other words, we talk about
All the things. So we don't know if this is the first episode of the new season yet.
No, we are recording this the same day as our season finale of season 2.
Yes. So if it is, Happy New Year.
Yes, and if it's not, Happy New Year anyway.
Yes, exactly. So we don't have anything new to say.
No, because we're not doing that much different to a couple of hours ago. All we did is change our t-shirts just for the fun of it. I didn't even iron mine.
Oh, shocking.
And we're both wearing shorts we've had for how many years now? 2005.
5 years. No,
2005.
6 years. 6 years.
Yes, my maths
Yeah.
has not improved in the last couple of hours.
Yes, we are being sustainable queens today.
Yes, we are.
Anyway, so today,
Yes.
what are we talking about?
Things are about to get depressing around here.
But hopefully uplifting,
Yes.
maybe.
Yes. So we are going to be speaking about rejection.
Mm-hmm.
So what is rejection? What is it meant personally? How do we overcome rejection? Yes.
Yeah. So I will just read a definition of rejection that I found on Google, literally the first thing that pops up, because that's how we find definitions and do our research these days.
That is.
Okay, so rejection can be defined as the act of pushing someone or something away. One may experience rejection from one's family of origin, a friend, or a romantic partner, and the resulting emotions can often be painful. Rejection can be experienced on a large scale or in small ways in everyday life. So basically, it is a normal part of life.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's not nice.
Yes.
But I think some people have it worse than others.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But I actually, just before we get into the personal things and all that, I've heard that apparently, because humans, we want to belong, we want to
Yes.
fit in, we don't want to be rejected.
Yes.
And that actually has roots back to our early human days, because back in the day when we were in our little hunter-gatherer groups,
Yes.
you had to be accepted to fit in, because if you weren't, then you would not get fed, pretty
Yes.
much. You had to be part of the group.
Yeah.
And that's kind of stemmed into what we have today, a little fear of rejection that we have.
Yes.
Because you can easily live your life without being accepted into society or into a friend group, but nobody wants that.
No, and we weren't designed that way.
for that.
We were designed for community.
Yes.
Community.
Yes.
So, yes.
Cool.
Okay, so firstly, rejection and even just this fear of abandonment is one of the biggest issues that come up in therapy today among all people, regardless of their race or their gender, etc. And along with that is daddy issues, because they say that an absentee parent, specifically a absentee father, impacts people beyond childhood, and it's one of the biggest issues at the moment.
Absolutely.
So yes, it's a real thing. But at the same time, even if you had two very present parents, you can still struggle with feelings of rejection and fear of rejection.
Yeah.
And I think for me personally, that has been the root of almost every single one of my insecurities.
That's so fun for you.
Literally the need to be perfect, and this feeling of not being good enough, and just almost everything that I've struggled with finds its roots in this idea of, I'm afraid that I'm not going to be accepted. I'm afraid that someone is going to leave or walk out.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's so dangerous, is when you struggle with rejection, it literally impacts everything. It impacts the way that you see yourself.
Yeah.
And it makes us even more insecure than we already are.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, I wouldn't necessarily say that I have rejection issues not in any way, but I certainly do have a fear of rejection, as I'm sure a lot of people do. But I think it originates mostly just from friendships, because when you're growing up, you're always going to have friends. You're going to get new friends. Your friends are going to get new friends, and you're going to drift apart. It's a very normal part of life.
Yes.
And I think it's especially like that when you're younger, because you're kind of still finding yourself and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
But throughout primary school, I would always get a really good friend or a really close friendship group, and then within the next year, it would always feel like I was being replaced by a different person.
Pathetic.
Yeah. So I never had a proper stable friendship group throughout the whole of school, which is also normal. But it was just never nice to feel that way, and kind of, you know, you see you and like your friend growing apart, and you see like another person coming into the picture, and it's like, oh, cool.
I think we went through a period where you felt like that at one stage. But I think I always in my mind was like, you have Devin, so you'll be okay. But actually, no, that it still affects you, you know?
And you're a significant other, or not, like a romantic partner or whatever, can never actually replace a friend, you know? You can think that, exactly. You can think that you can like isolate yourself from your friends once you get a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever the heck, but it's not the same. Don't do that.
When ultimately Devin is not good enough for you and you have to leave him, I'm the one that's going to be here. Just kidding, they'll stay together forever for the sake of the podcast. Okay, so let me take you down the sad rabbit hole that is Zara Scott's history.
I'm ready.
Just so I can give you some context.
I'm so ready.
I feel very comfortable speaking about this at this point because it's stuff I've had to work through for
you've really gone through it
for long times. So I grew up, my mom has been a single mom, like basically my whole life. Her and my dad broke up when I was 2, and so it's just been her and I. We weren't in contact. I last saw him when I was 7, and then we got in contact again when I was 13, and then again when I was 18. But I think what was very difficult is not only did I grow up knowing that like I didn't have a father, he didn't wish to be a part of my life. When he would reach out again, it would always be for brief times, and he just had this habit of making these promises and then backing out of them. And so as a little child, this really, really affected me because in my mind it was like, okay, but why doesn't my dad want me? You know? And I even noticed growing up, even getting to high school, like I've always gravitated towards like close-knit families. So like you are my best friend and I love your family and I love spending time with them. Rachel, shout out to the Alfords, I loved spending time with them. Like the Joints, I loved spending time with them. I always gravitated towards like when I chose my friends, I gravitated towards these full families because I never had that. And it wasn't ever an issue of like I didn't get enough attention from my mom or, you know, it was just there was this vital part of childhood development that wasn't present. And this like kind of started a very hectic journey of perfection to the point of like disaster,
destruction, because
I genuinely, and I like in hindsight now, from primary school, like I was first in my grade in grade 1. Like bizarre.
Like for what? Learning to read.
What the heck? And I just had this notion growing up that I am going to prove my dad wrong. Like I'm going to achieve everything. I'm going to be this perfect child, this amazing person, so that my dad will see, wow, he made a big mistake. But the issue with that is that those were my motives for everything that I did. So when I failed, it was kind of like my whole world fell apart. And like I carried that into everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it was very, very damaging for my self-esteem. So again, that is an example of like rejection leading to like huge other mountains to climb. And then again with I look at like specifically 2 relationships, a relationship with a past friend and my ex, is Danielle will tell you, like I in high school, because I had this fear of people leaving me, like it was just always if a father who's like your blood could leave you, anyone can leave you. And so I often push people away. So like Devin, Danielle's boyfriend, used to like give me such a hard time. He's like, why don't you open up? Like, are you afraid to tell us your birthday? Like I was incredibly closed off. Like I just had this fear that if I let someone in, they would leave and I would be devastated. But then on the other hand, I reached a point with 2 specific people I can think of where it's like, okay, I found someone, they aren't gonna leave, and so like I became so attached.
Like you latch on as hard as you can.
I latched on, and it was just like this very unhealthy codependence.
Definitely.
And that ruined me because both of those relationships inevitably fell apart, and I was left here like picking up the pieces, and I literally didn't know who I was outside of those relationships. And so again, that can become dangerous. And so if you have struggled with like being rejected or being left, it's so important that you let people in. You have to let people in. You need to foster healthy relationships. As you said, it's like it's part of who we are.
Yeah, it is.
But it's important that other people don't become
everything.
Your world.
Exactly.
Because something in my notes that I wrote here is that humans are humans, and people will inevitably always let you down. And it's very easy to work through a problem and forgive someone when you've kept them at a safe distance, but they also are like a vital, important part of your life.
I think one of the things about rejection and like not letting people in is that it kind of just becomes this very vicious circle, because you know you've been rejected and then you so badly want to be accepted again, but you don't actually ever like let people in to accept you, and so then you still like kind of feel like you've been rejected in some way, if you know what I mean. And like I always think of, you know, like I've never been like a big friendship kind of person, like I even said in the episode that we recorded today. But like I would sometimes just see like groups of people hanging together, and like people who I like kind of was friends with, but like I wasn't like besties with, you know if you know what I mean. And like if like I would know all of these people, and like I would see them hanging out on Instagram, like on their stories or whatever, and I was like, oh, why was I not invited? But then like I've never actually made the effort to like be included, if you know what I mean. And like that's like one of the hardest things, I think, is just knowing that you have to make some sort of effort. Because on one hand, like I truly believe that, you know, like if you are yourself, like the right people will come to you, and like you will find the right people. But there's also an element of putting yourself out there. And I think it's also the same with like maybe applying for jobs or like any other kind of opportunities. If we're so scared of rejection all the time, then like you are going to be rejected. Just because like you didn't ever try, if you know what I mean.
If you get rejected for 2 jobs and you decide never ever to apply for a job again, you're going to be poor.
You're going to be very poor.
It's the same with relationships, you know. Yes. Then just on that note of like seeing your friends or like acquaintances on Instagram, I think a mindset that I got into is, for the longest time I've had this need to be liked. Everyone has to like me. And it was almost to the degree where if someone didn't like me, like it consumed me. And then I like one day was thinking, I don't like everyone. Like I love people, but there's certain people that I don't necessarily like, and I wouldn't.
You're not going to be friends with them.
No. So it's perfectly okay.
If
everyone doesn't like me. I know myself. I can be flippin' annoying.
That's true. I'm joking. So, you're not annoying to me, Zara.
So what this did is this like being consumed with needing to be liked is I so often projected my emotions onto other people, which is the most dangerous thing about having this fear of rejection, is that you walk into every room almost expecting to be rejected.
Literally.
And a book that I will recommend it's one of my favorite books, and it really helped me navigate all of this, it's called Uninvited by Lisa Tukirst, and I would really recommend you guys read it if this is an issue you struggle with. But a lot about what the book taught me, and I didn't even realize it before, is I would so often walk into rooms, and like if someone didn't greet me, I'm like, oh, they don't like me. They're ignoring me. But chances are they probably just didn't see me, or they were in another conversation. And the other day I got a message from someone. They said, hey Zara, like I've been like going back and forth about whether I should message you, but I just thought I should. You've been a little bit off with me lately the last couple of times that I've seen you. Have I done something? And I was completely in shock, because I wasn't even remotely like upset with this person in the slightest. And I realized like it was just, I was obviously very distracted, especially when you're at church, you see lots of
and like
people.
You've been busy as well.
I've been so busy. And I realized like, again, being in the other position is like, intention is what matters, and it's so important that we don't make assumptions and we don't like project our emotions onto other people. And in the same breath, like it is so freeing to know who you are in the Lord, to accept the Lord's love, and then to want to love other people. So it's been very powerful, and obviously I fall back into old patterns, but it's been very powerful for me to say, instead of walking into a room and looking to be rejected, walking into a room and saying, how can I love people? Because there's someone in that room that's feeling exactly the same way as me.
Exactly.
And it's how can I make them not feel like that?
Yeah.
So that's like very like empowering, and that mindset shift is empowering. And as we've said, I think you've said it quite a few times in other episodes, like you are what you think. Like,
yes.
It will determine everything.
Exactly. And also, I've also said this many times, but nobody thinks about you as much as you think about you.
For real.
So like, I mean, we're all guilty of this, I think. I mean, probably some people do it more than others, but you know, just once again, like projecting what you are feeling onto other people.
Yeah.
And, you know, being like, I'm quite an introverted person, and going into a room full of people that I don't know is like very intimidating for me.
Yeah.
So like, I will often, you know, like go and like maybe stand in a group of people, and like, I'm not necessarily going to join in the conversation, but then like after a while, and I'm sure other people have felt this as well, then you kind of just like start feeling kind of bad about yourself, because it's like, you're not like expressing any of your like opinions or like talking about anything. You're kind of just like watching other people talk.
Yes.
And like, especially if the group is made of like bigger characters than you are, and like, it can really like make you feel quite down about yourself and make you feel like you have been rejected, even though like I haven't necessarily like made an effort once again to like include myself, because I kind of have it in the back of my head that like I'll probably just be annoying.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, even that whole idea of extroverts and introverts, is that we begin to understand that that's how people are, and it isn't necessarily a reflection of how they feel about you.
Yeah.
And so a friend of mine a while ago had spoken to me and said like, my significant other really like puts pressure on me to socialize with their friends, and I find it very difficult because I am putting in the effort, but it's very difficult for me because these people are all extroverts. And so I think, as said extrovert, you need to just be sensitive and not see it as, oh, this person is rejecting my friends, or this person doesn't like my friends because they're not engaging in conversations.
It's just
Sometimes
difficult.
it's genuinely difficult. So
Exactly. And also on the introvert / extrovert topic, is just don't like confine yourself to those labels. If you, I mean, just learning more about what it means to be an extrovert or an introvert, it's so much to do with where you get your energy.
Exactly.
And so like, you can be a shy person, but it doesn't, and you can be introverted, but it doesn't mean that you can't socialize. And like, it definitely takes more effort, but you can do it, and I promise you are more interesting than you think you are. Like, just, you know, tell your story and people will be interested in you.
I mean, even me, you know, I'm very like charismatic and outgoing, and I enjoy social interaction, but I rest by myself. Like, I love being alone. My mom is always like, sorry, you need to go out and do stuff.
God, I really don't want to.
I'm like, I literally my job is connecting with people.
Yeah.
I just need like,
I'm so tired.
I need to be by myself. The best friends are the people that you don't have to entertain.
Yeah. No, literally, like, you know, I was writing down in my notes that, you know, once you feel like you've been rejected from friendships, whether you've been rejected or not, or whether it's just like the natural flow of friendships or anything really, it can be easy to think that you need to act in a certain way or behave in a certain way to be accepted. And that's really, really draining, because you're not being your authentic self, you know?
It's exhausting.
Like, you don't want to feel like you have to act a certain way to get a certain person to like you. And if you really feel like you can't be yourself with another person, then is that person like worth being friends with?
100%.
So just keep that in mind. But I really think, like, I have literally no energy to act like a different person. I really can't. So that's also like why I just really gravitate towards people who are more low maintenance and easygoing. If I'm expected to be a person who is constantly going out and is constantly messaging other people, I will probably die, because I cannot do that.
And then another big thing, so I'm going to read this quote from the book that I was talking about, and it says, rejection steals the best of who I am by reminding me of the worst that's been said to me. Because the reality is, as much as perceived rejection exists, people genuinely do reject you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there are like 2 specific times or 3 actually, specific times that these are things I carried, like, and weighed heavily on me for a long time. And the 3 examples is someone that I cared very deeply for once told me like, oh, sorry, I don't love you. And that was very, very difficult for me.
Yeah, also.
And the issue is when you become consumed with that negativity, that thought, this person has rejected me, this person doesn't love me, instead of me saying, okay, this person doesn't love me, I become like, okay, but then I must be unlovable. And that's the label that I wear, that I am unlovable.
Yeah.
And then another person once said, it was during my very interesting days, and they said to me like, okay, Zara can't minister to teenagers right now. Like it could be harmful for the teens, and that word like made me like I was dangerous.
I was offended for you.
Or a really like bad influence.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, okay, this is maybe just what they've seen, I took that on as like, I cannot be in youth ministry because what do I have to offer these teens? I'm a terrible influence, which isn't the case.
No, not at all.
And at that point, I just moved out of that season. And so like, and other people had not seen the growth. So that was very difficult for me. And then the third example is one person once said to a friend who told me, guys, get your information firsthand. They said, Zara is so emotionally unstable and I don't think she's ever going to change. And instead of me saying, okay, this person hadn't seen me, you know, this is just an outside perspective. And granted, I was very emotionally unstable, but that
you don't want to hear it from another person though.
No. And that wasn't like who I was. Like I'm so much more than that.
No, exactly.
And so, but in my mind, I was like, okay, that is who I am. I am emotionally unstable. And it kind of like, that is a label I wore. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to be more emotionally unstable.
Yeah.
I'm going to live in the fact that I'm unlovable. I'm going to stay away from teenagers because I'm harmful to them. And when we give into these feelings of rejection, rather than putting them in context and moving past it, we literally become the worst versions of ourselves.
That's
so
very true.
For y'all listening, just lay that down.
Yeah.
Go to people who like you and know you well, because those are the people
exactly
that are going to be able to truly like uplift you.
I think, just in terms of, taking criticism or rejection or anything like that, it's really important to see where it's coming from. If like most of those people we're not close to you at all, so like realistically your phone realistically, like they're not going to know who you are, and they're not going to necessarily, and they might think that they have your best intentions, but like they don't, like they won't necessarily have that because they don't know you. So just remind yourself of all the people who do know you very well. And like you can go to them and say like, oh, this is what this person said about me, and then they can give you, hopefully you have honest people in your lives, and they can like truthfully tell you if what they said is accurate or not. And like you really don't need to take everyone's opinions
too hard.
You really, really, really don't. Definitely, like I promise you. And like I'm assuming that most people have some sort of supportive network around them. Like it doesn't need to be a big friendship group. You don't need to have a significant other, anything like that. But I'm so sure that you will have people who love you, and just remind yourself about that.
Amen.
It doesn't need to be a whole group of people, even one.
Amen.
That is enough. Quality over quantity, that's what I say.
Amen. Something that's really helped me overcome my like fear of rejection and living in those horrible feelings is that, and the Lord reveals this to me more and more, and this is what I love about loving Jesus, is he is such a personal, like God is so personal. And if we look at the life of Jesus, he was rejected by his own people, like the people that he grew up with, that should love him and know him, they rejected him. If we read about like the prophecies in Isaiah speaking about Jesus, it speaks about him being despised and rejected. And this is someone who just loved people, and he was rejected. And it's like, even we look at Jesus dying on the cross for everyone, Jesus died with the knowledge that people might not love him in return. And like God loves you infinitely, whether you choose to acknowledge that or not. And so just the fact that I am able to walk in this relationship with the Lord, knowing that he understands exactly how I feel, is like
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm good. If
Yes.
Jesus can get through it.
Yes. I mean, if people rejected Jesus.
Exactly.
Then,
It's okay if they reject you just a little bit.
Yes.
But
You
yeah.
can't. You may not.
I shan't, don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, do you have other things to say?
Yes.
Okay, you go.
Thank you.
I need to gather my thoughts.
All good. The one thing that and maybe this is becoming very Pinterest cancel culture vibe, and that's not the direction I'm going, is we have to reach a point where we stop begging people to love us.
Oh, absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, like, let's just say you are in a very unhealthy relationship and this person has rejected you, but like, again, you become attached and it's like, but please, like, please,
like,
just
let me do more stuff for you.
Yes. Like, that's only hurting you in the long run. So
it is. It makes you feel horrible about yourself.
Exactly.
Truly.
So if you're in a position where you've just been rejected so many times, don't hate the person, but just be strong enough for your own good to walk away.
Yeah. Oh, word, I keep on losing my train of thought.
That's okay.
I literally, like, you were speaking, I was like,
oh, I know what I should say next.
And now I don't. But anyway, carry on talking, and I will think of stuff.
Yes. Another thing, and Danielle will tell you that I am very, very guilty of this, is how much I apologize.
Oh, yeah.
Because I am so afraid of losing people sometimes that I will apologize for things that I don't necessarily need to apologize for, or I will apologize 75 times for something that could have done one apology and have it be done. And my mom always says, like, we've batted heads because I'm like very sensitive and she's very quick tempered. And so when she like lashes out at me or I've done something wrong, I will apologize and be so sad, and I will apologize like 3-4 times, and she's like, Zara, I literally got over that like an hour ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm so afraid, you know. So like, that is something that I really need to work on. I'd like to say I've gotten better at that, but oof,
I know. I think it's difficult. Like, I don't know, when you have like conflict with a family member or something, with someone really really close to you, because it's like, what would you even do? Yeah. If they rejected you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then another thing that I think is so important is that you reach a point where you let go of bitterness and resentment and anger. And people always say this, and it's such a cliche, but it's like the resentment you hold, or whatever the case may be, like if you're holding a grudge towards someone else, like it's drinking poison and expecting the other person to die when you're only hurting yourself. And at the end of the day, like, people are messed up and people have their own things, and that doesn't justify, like, I don't think anything can justify a father not being present in their child's in their child's life. But I don't hold like resentment or bitterness or anger towards him.
It's only going to hurt you more.
Yes, it's like I've reached a point where it's taught me a lot, and when you hold on to that anger, you're never ever going to be in a space where you can actually just live loved.
Yeah, live, love, laugh. Yeah.
Yes. That's so Tumblr.
Yeah. I think what I was, when you were saying your initial points, and I was like,
wow,
and then
big brain.
Then I lost it. It's just, there was this quote, it said, stop trying to be with people who make you feel hard to love.
Yeah.
And that's a really good quote, because like you said, when you're constantly begging for another person's attention, or the Taylor Swift song "Tolerate It." Do you know that one?
I do.
Oh my goodness, go read the lyrics of that song, because that's exactly, I think it portrays so much what it's like to be like putting in the best, using her best colors for her portrait. Yes. And the person just does not care, like it doesn't mean anything to them. Yeah. And then you are like putting in all your effort, like giving them all your love, and they're just not reciprocating or even accepting it. Yes. And I think it just gets to a point where you got to realize that they might never do that, and it's okay. Yes. It's okay for someone not to accept you, and like you said, don't hold a grudge. But it's really difficult to move on, especially if it's like if you've become attached to them, because often it is like that. I think like often those more toxic or like non-reciprocal relationships are the ones that you get the most attached to for some reason. Yes. But yes. like I said, the right people will eventually come to you, but hard to swallow pills that you have to put in the effort, eh?
Yeah. And I also think like it's important that we just always try and put ourselves in other people's shoes, as difficult as it is, because I look at it as, okay, I went through a stage where I was very closed off. So even though I wanted to show someone like, I love you and let me let you in, it was terrifying to me.
Yeah.
But let's just say that the other person is in exactly the same position. My needing to push them away because those are my issues, it's not them, but they're thinking, oh shoot, I'm not good enough.
Yeah, I'm being rejected right now.
I'm being rejected. So it's like, it's a very messy cycle, and people are messy. We have our baggage. And so again, in the same breath, walk away from like toxicity, but also try and understand. Sometimes it just, like, I think for me, I've had friends like Danielle who's kind of stuck it out through through everything, and like slowly but surely
you come around.
The walls have
I'll just let you do your thing, and you'll do it. You'll get through it eventually.
Danielle doesn't say I told you so. She knows, but she waits for me to figure it out myself.
Yeah, like I always know.
She always knows.
Like you're saying, just trying to understand where the other person's coming from. Really do try to understand, but like we were saying, that was a weird bird sound. Like a person, like they will show you what their true colors are.
Yeah.
And like if they are constantly rejecting you, like you really don't need to stick around. You can have empathy, you can have sympathy, you can show like, I'm here for you if you need me, but you don't need to be there like to serve them and to do all the things for them. Like that's too much effort, and it'll actually just make you feel horrible in the long run. Yeah. And like, you don't need to be there for everyone. You don't need to be there to save everyone. Like, I think everyone has, I mean, no person can ever save another person. No.
My one counseling lecturer, told me, I was like, I can't switch my phone off. Like, what if like someone needs me? And he was like, are you God?
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, the world still spins without you. And it's like, as harsh as that is, I was like, that is so true.
It's so true. I've never been the kind of person to be on, I mean, I'm on my phone a lot, but never the kind of person, you know, to have my phone on at night and like the sound on in case someone calls me, because I'm like, I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
I will be way more helpful to you if I have slept.
Yes.
And there was this thing going, I think it was like a screenshot of a tweet at one stage saying like, oh, people who have their phones on silent all the time are like the worst friends because like they're never there for you. And it's like, why do you expect someone...
Lies.
Yeah, literally, like it's such a lie. And like, what would you do if cell phones were not invented? Tell me that.
So was everyone bad friends back in the day without cell phones?
Obviously, they were the worst.
Yeah, no. And I think one more thing that I will say is very much issues where like friends have drifted, or like I've had friends come and go in my life, and I've been through a breakup, and those things are normal formative experiences in life. And you don't have to view them as rejection. Not every person you date is going to be the person you marry. Not every friend that you have is supposed to be a lifelong friend. Like, it's okay. Like, I've had friends that are no longer friends, but I'm very grateful for just the part that they played in my life at a certain point.
Exactly. They can teach you many, many things.
And the less friends you have, the less money you spend on your wedding. So like,
so true, bestie. And just one last thing, or like maybe two last things. But just what you were saying.
She had no thoughts, and now she has all the thoughts.
I always have all the thoughts. I just need to find a way to access them. It's just also, I think it's fine to have expectations and like things for your friendships and whatever it is, like for your job, I don't know, but just don't have too many expectations.
Expectations ruin relationships.
They do. Like, stop having too many and like expecting them to do a lot for you. Like, stop thinking about what you can get out of the friendship, what you can get out of the relationship, but think about what you can put in. But once again, if the other person is not doing the same, then that's a slightly different story.
I had someone message me yesterday and say, sorry for like the sporadic replies, I'm with family. And I was like, it's literally Christmas and I don't need you to respond within 10 minutes.
It's okay.
I respond days later.
It's really okay. And like, I think it's also important just to communicate what you do expect.
100%.
Or like, and then the other person could say like, oh, well, I can do this, but I can't do that. And
so
vice
many
versa.
perceived rejections would be avoided if you just spoke
Literally.
and communicated.
Literally.
Yeah.
And then I think another last thing, just in dealing with rejection, you know, it's very linked to like poor self-esteem and I don't know, go listen to our imposter syndrome episode because I think it's quite similar.
Yeah.
But, you know, just have some nice affirmations for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, they don't need to be super spiritual and all that. Like, I don't do any of that. But just, like, look at yourself and think, like, I am, like, worthy of like, being loved. Like, you are worthy of being loved. And, you know, all those kinds of things. Just tell yourself some nice things about yourself. Stop focusing so much on the negatives, which are, unfortunately, way harder, way easier to focus on.
No, for sure. And I think like if I didn't know who I was in Christ, I would be a huge mess. And what's interesting is like the more intentional you are with your relationship with the Lord, the more like Jesus you become, the better you become as a person, the more loving you become.
Indeed.
The less worried you become about everyone else's opinions and stuff.
It is what it is.
But yes, if you struggle, we're with you. We get it. It's real. And sometimes if you didn't get an invite to that friend thing,
it's okay.
It's okay. It doesn't mean you aren't loved. I have a friend who solidly invites me to everything, and they're often like very adventurous last minute things, and she knows I won't go, but she sends the message just so like I know I'm included.
That's the point.
Those are wonderful friends.
That's the point. Yeah, genuinely, like even if you know someone will probably not be able to make it, just invite them.
Do you know what? Devin once didn't invite me to his birthday.
Yeah, literally because he knew that you would be able to go.
I was like hearing about this, I messaged Danielle. I was like, excuse me, did your boyfriend have a birthday party and not invite me?
I was like, sorry, you literally have youth.
I think I like let him have it for like 2 years after that.
Yes. But yeah, because it's really easy not to think about that, especially if you're not a person that necessarily deals with or like that thinks about rejection, or thinks that we're silly for feeling the way we are.
Anyway, so that was our episode.
Indeed.
I think the main message is you are so cool.
You are so cool,
and we want to be your friend.
And if anyone tries to tell you you're not cool, then
they are not
cut
cool.
them out. And I'm joking.
Cancel. JK. Okay. We love you lots.
Indeed.
And we will see you / you will hear from us in the next episode. DM us.
Please.
Otherwise we'll feel so rejected.
Yeah, that's actually my biggest rejection.
Yeah. Some people don't DM us. Slide, guys, slide.
Yes.
Okay, bye.
Bye.